Before we go deeper in our course, we need to install the software we'll be using for our course, which is Microsoft SQL Server. To do that, let's go to our browser and just type in the search bar Microsoft SQL Server. So let's do Microsoft SQL Server download, and then you click on this second link. So if you click on you have to be careful of the link you are clicking from. We are trying to download from Microsoft website, not from any third-party website. So click on this one that says SQL Server downloads. And once we are on this site, we need to come down a bit for what we want to download. Don't click on any of the link at the top here. Just scroll down and we'll have our SQL Server we want to download. And there are actually two versions of SQL Server. There's one for developer and there's another one for Express. So for this course, any one of the two will actually work for the course, but it's better to download the developer option because it has more features which the SQL Server Express does not have, and again it's good for development. So let's click on download. So once our file is downloaded, then let's click on open here. So another option we have to pick here is to pick the custom option, and then it should definitely ask us if we want to browse the location or we want to save it to, or if we're okay with this part. I'm okay with the part, then I'll click on install. So once we are on this dialog box, so by the extreme left hand side, we can see different options, which is planning, installation, maintenance, and the rest. So we want to do installation right now, so we'll click on installation, and after that it will ask us what would we like to install. So we want to install a new SQL Server, and we click on new SQL Server. So once we are here, since we have already specified developer, we don't need to enter a product key, so we click on next, and after that we accept the license term, click on next. So we should get all this result, and for this window firewall, sometimes you get a warning, but just ignore it, everything is fine. And then we click on next. So this is where we need to pay attention. Now what we want to download is a new SQL Server instance, and the instance will have some features we would like to make available in our SQL Server. So the first thing we would like to make available is the database engine services, and there are other options here which if you would like SQL Server replication, and also machine learning services that will allow you to perform machine learning activities directly in your database, and also full text and semantic extraction. So this is good if you would like to do some regex like regular expression in your data. So for now, we just click on this database instance, and let's click on this full text and semantic. So for the rest, we don't need to do any other thing again. So we just click on next. So after that, we get to this page which will ask us to do some configuration. So this is instance configuration, and then it has a default instances that will just give a default name. So what I usually like to do is just change the instance name, and let's say I'm using my name, let's say Yusuf 2025, and once I click on the instance ID at this page here, you see what happened. You see changes to the instance name that I've given at the top. So, and then you can see the SQL Server directory has also changed, having the instance name that I just created at the end. So we'll click on next. So after that, we'll get to see the services that we have selected during our feature selections when we're doing the installation. You can see that we have our SQL Server agent, which is selected by default. And also we have SQL Server database engine. We selected that. The SQL Server full text filter, we selected that. SQL Server browser, it's there by default. So make sure you tick this box to grant platform volume maintenance tax privilege to SQL Server database engine services. It's important. Then the next thing is do next. So this is an important area we need to pay attention to. So this place now is asking us the kind of authentication mode we would like to use, and authentication mode is how we'll be able to sign into SQL Server and have access to our database. And also if we would like to connect our database to another kind of service, like maybe Power BI or to a different application, so we would need to provide authentication, which is a login details. So right now it's asking us if we would like to use Windows authentication mode. So this has been selected for us by default, but it's a good practice to select mixed mode, which is SQL Server authentication and window authentication. After that, you see that username is usually system admin SA, which we can change. So what would be okay for us to do now is to enter the password that will be connected to the account. So enter your password. So ensure that the password matches the one at the top. If not, you get an error. And after that, again, what you do is click on add current user, which is very important. Once you click that, the current user comes up into this box. So that's a good one. And then we click on next. This is just a summary of what we have selected and the action we have performed so far. So we click on install. So our installation is complete, and then we click on close. So that is the SQL Server instance we have installed. So we would need to install another software, which is the management tools. So that will help us to be able to link the instances we have installed to a front end, like a front facing website, for us to be able to interact with the database. So after that, we'll click on install SQL Server management tools. And once we click on that, it takes us to this website where we'll download the management tool. So scroll down a bit and click on download SQL Server Management Studio. So once that is done, we'll open it up. And then we'll click on install. The location is fine for me, so we'll click on install. So once our installation is complete, then we'll close this, and then we'll go to our application menu, and we'll see it's already here, SQL Server Management Studio. And also if we go here and scroll down a bit, so you'll see the SQL Server 2022. That is the instance where you can also come back to this installation center to maybe activate a service you would like to use. Well, for this course, we would be able to interact with our instance, the server we just created, by using this SQL Server Management Studio 20. When you open it, so once we load this, we can see the instances that I have, which is Yusuf 2025. So if you come down here, the connection security, you can choose optional, and make sure to always tick this trust server certificate. And if you do that and do connect, so we are connected to our SQL Server, and we can see the database. We have nothing else on this right now, and this button is for connection and this is to disconnect. So let's disconnect and let's try another means of connecting. So once you have disconnected, let's click on this connect button and let's try using SQL Server authentication. So using SQL Server authentication, you remember I told us the username will always be SA, which stands for System Administrator. So let's put SA, and the password will be the password you supplied while you were installing this. So let's do the password now, and you can click on remember password. And also for the connection security, the encryption should be optional depending on your choice, and trust server certificate, and click on connect. So whichever method we are using to connect will get us to this place, but it's just important to know which one to use. So when we are connecting our database, our SQL Server, to a third-party application like maybe Power BI, then we would, in an ideal production environment, we would use the SQL Server authentication, which will supply the username and the password. So that is the installation of SQL Server.